How's it going, Ram fans? Welcome back to this Valentine's Day edition of the Monday Night Sports Show. I'm Madeline Davis.
And I'm Fredrikson, here to show you everything we loved about this weekend in CSU sports. From a love letter to CSU basketball after their super successful weekend in the Mountain West,
to Cam letting you know his thoughts on which NBA trades he cherished in last week's action.
And of course, how could we forget about Out of Pocket, which like always ends off the night with a debate over which takes we love and which ones we want to dump. All of that and more on CTV Sports, which tips off right now.
After, let's be honest, a pretty easy win down in Reno last Tuesday, CSU men's hoops returned home for what was a third straight sellout at Moby Arena to take on the Fresno State Bulldogs. And while I expected this game to be fairly close, the Rams made sure to let the packed home crowd know exactly who was in charge, taking the dub rather comfortably thanks to a furious second-hand effort, 65-50. Let's take a look at exactly how it happened. Here we're going to start off with CSU. We see David Roddy. He comes through, goes through three Fresno State defenders, passes to James Moores, who puts it in the dunk for two. Been loving their chemistry lately. Now we got Fresno State. We see Jonathan Campbell go up and under for two. Now it's a tie game at 15, all in the first. Here we see Fresno State once again. It's 17-17. They got a chance. The big man, Orlando Bloom. No, not Orlando Bloom. Yikes. Orlando Robinson. Now we see CSU do what they do so well. They're going to play team points right here. Unselfish basketball. They're going to pass it around for a little bit. Here we see Deshaun Thomas. He's going to pass it off to Kendall Moore. Kendall Moore is going to go in. He's going to think about it, but he can't, so he passes it back off to Isaiah Stevens, who passes it to John Tonje for the long three. Yes, let's go. Look at that. Here we got David Roddy once again. Double teamed, goes up, spin move, and one. Let's go. Here we got Isaiah Stevens again, passes it off to John Tonje. John Tonje sinks it in for three again, and the bench is loving it, and I love that bench. Now we're going to see the play of the game right here. Isaiah Stevens to David Roddy. He goes in, doesn't see anyone. Here comes James Moore's overhead backwards pass, backwards under the hoop. The crowd goes wild, and deservedly so. What a play. And man, I don't know exactly what Coach Medved told the team at half, but whatever message he got across to these guys, I'm sure glad he said it. And when you look at the team stats for this one, while 40 points in the second half definitely stands out, the number I really want to talk about for the Rams is their number of turnovers, with only 3 the entire night. Not to mention that all of them happened in the first half. And one of them was a shot clock violation that, if you asked me, definitely came off before the buzzer. And now moving on to the individual stats, this matchup was all David Roddy. The junior guard and former high school quarterback led CSU in virtually every category, from putting up a team-leading 21 points to 7 rebounds and, of course, 8 assists, which was a season high and only 1 away from his career best. And on to the other top performers, redshirt sophomore James Moores once again had a stellar performance from the floor, going 5 for 5 on field goals and scoring 11 points off the bench. After this solid W, the Rams had a quick turnaround time to prepare for the 10-1 conference play and Mountain West leading Boise State Broncos. So Ella, how'd they fare in that matchup?
Well, Madeline, it was a crazy warm-up for the Super Bowl, to say the least. But unlike the matchup you covered against the Bulldogs, this one we fully expected to go point for point. And to put it simply, that's exactly what happened, even if not at first. With CSU coming out of the gates really strong, earning a double-digit lead 8 minutes in and holding it for most of the half. But as we know, a big lead, especially on the road, isn't something that usually sticks around. And the Broncos, led by their guy, Tyson Degenhart, proved this exactly right, cutting things to within 2 before halftime. And as the break came and went, CSU was consistently unable to pull away with a similar advantage that they had built minutes before, going back and forth and shot for shot with the team in blue. But regardless, this resilient green and gold squad always kept their faith and never let a quick run by the opposing side hold them down, eventually gritting it out to take the win in OT 77-74. Thanks to a David Roddy putback with 20 seconds left, and some clutch playout of Isaiah Stevens and Chandler Jacobs. And with that, let's get into the stats. On the offensive side, Roddy, Jacobs, and Stevens were the only ones able to break into the teens, coming up with 18, 16, and 14 respectively, while the rest came in relatively scattered and much smaller numbers from the consistent depth we get with this deep bench. And switching to the defensive effort, while the Rams held their own inside the arc against the Broncos, forcing plenty of long possessions and shot clock violations, outside the line was a much different story. Boise shot an insane 54.2% from three, which really kept them alive in this one and kept Ram fans scratching their heads for sure. But despite that almost impossible mark, the Rams still pulled things out, making them the first team this season in the Mountain West Conference to come out of Extra Mile Arena with a win. So while they were far from perfect and should have pulled away a lot earlier in this one, at the end of the day, all I can do is commend this team for proceeding to fight for it until the very end, even when they were down 7 points at one point in the second half. And hey, while no energy will match Madeline's after a Ram win, CSU softball's reaction comes pretty close, showing off their excitement over what was a huge Quad 1 W for the Rams in a hostile environment. Just look for yourself. If you ask me, that's pretty awesome. And whether it was internal or externally expressed, Roddy sealing the deal at the end with that monster block and bringing all of the momentum back to campus is well worth screaming for. And now looking ahead, CSU goes on the road again to start the week, this time to New Mexico to take on the 10-14 Lobos, who hopefully the Rams can keep up their recent hot streak against, Madeline, I am loving how this team is looking lately. I just can't get enough of their big plays and huge W's.
Yeah, I mean, that win yesterday, honestly, that was the biggest win of the season so far. That was incredible. I mean, just everything. I didn't have a single thing to complain about in that game. I was honestly going to be happy, win or lose. I thought they played really well.
No, absolutely. And although I could argue we shouldn't have let it go to OT, we had that big lead for a while. But honestly, the fact that it went OT and we came away with it kind of made it better.
I don't know what Nico Medved told the team during that timeout when they were down by 7, but whatever he said really sparked something, and that was incredible.
Just keep it going.
Yeah, what a coach that man is. And well, the men clearly weren't the only CSU hoop squad with a road game this past weekend. Rams women hoops were also on the conference grind, crushing Mountain West bottom feeders San Jose State on Saturday with a score of 84-70. And from the jump in this one, it was clear that the Rams were riding the momentum of their comeback victory against the Utah State Aggies on Orange Out Night from earlier in the week, taking the lead early and keeping it for essentially the whole game. And sure, while San Jose did end up cutting the lead to only 3 at one point in the fourth, CSU quickly responded on a 6-0 run to shut down any chance that SJSU had at a comeback, leaving no doubt on who deserved the conference dub. Above all else, what really helped the Green and Gold secure this win was their stellar free throw percentage, going a ridiculous 30 from 31 from the charity strip. And with a performance like this, it's easy to see how this ended up as the second highest free throw percentage in team history. The Rams also had a decent 43.3% field goal percentage and won the boards 41-31, dominating all of the major marks on this one. And on to the individual numbers, the Rams were, like always, led by McKenna Hofschild, who scored 32 points to tie her career high, while Upe Atasu was right behind her with 22, and grad student Carly Murphy contributed a solid 14 points off the bench, while also grabbing 7 key rebounds. This W pushed CSU to 16-7 on the season and finally put them back over 400 in conference play, now sitting at 7-6. And after the victory in the Golden State, the Rams head back home to Moby to kick off this year's edition of the Border War this Thursday night at 6. It should be a really fun game, and I'm sure the Lady Rams would love your support.
Finally, moving from the hardwood and onto the gridiron, if you tuned into the Monday night show last week, you saw my breakdown on what to expect in Super Bowl 56. And although I knew it was going to be a good one, this game was better than I could have ever expected. Early on, it took clearly took a few possessions for both teams to adjust to the idea of playing in the most important game of the year and probably their lives. But I mean, can you blame them? SoFi Stadium was packed with over 70,000 in attendance. But after they were able to shake off that post-championship game rust, OBJ took charge early on, connecting with Matthew Stafford for the first tutty of the game from 17 yards out halfway through the first quarter. But after that early surge from LA, momentum shifted back and forth between the two squads. Thanks to a big non-contact injury taking out Odell late in the second quarter, and both QBs limping off the field at different points later on in the second half, due to a relentless pass rush from both sides that really heated up as things went on. And despite what was a remarkable one-year turnaround for the Bengals, which had a lot of America rooting for these underdogs, like I predicted last week, defensive monster Aaron Donald ruined Cincinnati's last chance by coming through with the game-ending pressure, forcing Burrow to flip the ball into the turf and of course show off what he does best in these big moments, while also making LA's 3-point lead the final score, with the Rams winning their second title 23-20. But before Aaron had to finish things out, Cooper Kupp and his historic season came through for a fitting ending, scoring the game winner with a little bit over a minute left on a late drive by Stafford and crew, which earned him Super Bowl MVP honors and gave the Rams exactly what they needed to take home another Lombardi. And after the confetti started to fall and the emotions and tears started to flow, AD's post-game interview showed a side of him that we don't usually get to see. Take a look.
How does this measure up to what you thought it might be like, Aaron?
It's the best feeling in the world, man. God is great. God is great. I'm lost for words. I don't know what to say. This is a blessing. This is a blessing.
Before and after the bowl, there were reports swirling that this might be number 99's final game. So if it is, what a run for one of the best defensive players of all time, which included 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards, 7 All-Pros, and of course, 1 Lombardi trophy. And even though the Rams came out with it in the end, both of these squads deserved that ring in so many different ways. And I'm just glad that they were the ones who ended up fighting for it in the end. But with all of their vets, it just seemed like LA's time.
And with that, Rams, now it's time for a very quick break.
When we come back, Cam will fill you in on everything that went down in pro basketball last week. You won't want to miss it.